Welcome friends to this course on understanding absurdist drama. We are in week 1 and this is going to be lecture number 4. Today we'll discuss European avant-garde drama. Avant-garde drama was anti-traditional drama that emerged in the late 19th and early 20th century, revolting against the well-established forms of drama such as realism and naturalism. The term avant-garde means vanguard, ahead of its times. Defining avant-garde drama, Christopher N. writes, avant-garde has become a ubiquitous label, eclectically applied to any type of art that is anti-traditional in form. At its simplest, the term is sometimes taken to describe what is new at any given time, the leading edge of artistic experiment. Christopher N. rightly suggests that avant-garde drama is experimental and anti-traditional. It rejects traditional plot structures with a beginning, middle, and end, preferring episodic and fragmentary forms of storytelling. Stage design is often minimalist, symbolic, and abstract. It uses improvised and non-traditional dialogues. Most of the avant-garde plays critique societal norms, morals, and aesthetic conventions. They question and challenge decaying and decadent socio-political structures of society which have forced mankind to suffer. Symbolist, Dadaist, Expressionists, Absurdist, Futurist theatres are some of the most important theatrical forms associated with avant-garde. We'll discuss some of these in great detail. However, let us discuss first how did this avant-garde drama evolve. Avant-garde drama was both a critique and continuation of realist and naturalist theatre. Realist theatre tried to portray human life authentically as it is. It was a reaction against melodrama and other existing romantic theatrical conventions of the earlier times. Rejection of melodrama, authentic representation of life, focus on the complexities of moral and ethical issues with which human beings grapple were some of the most important aspects of realist theatre. This realist theatre was very well presented by Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen. His plays like A Doll's House, Ghosts, The Wild Duck were honest and authentic explorations of human existence. A Doll's Life is the story of a woman, Nora, who leaves her husband and children, searching her own individuality. Ghosts explored taboo subjects like syphilis, bringing in the questions of ethics and morality. Ibsen's psychological depth and focus on characters' existential struggles influenced absurdist examinations of identity and purpose. His use of subtext and ambiguity was echoed in Harold Pinter's minimalist cryptic dialogues. His most famous play, Ghosts, is a powerful drama about family secrets, societal hypocrisy, and the haunting legacy of past. Mrs. Helen Elving has built an orphanage to honor her late husband, Captain Elving, whose public image hides his immoral and debauched behavior. Her son, Oswald, returns home from Paris only to reveal that he is suffering from a mysterious illness. As dark truths emerge, including the illegitimate birth of Regina, a maid in the household, the ghosts of past sins and societal expectations come to light. The play ends tragically as Oswald succumbs to his illness and asks his mother to help him end his life, leaving her in a moral and emotional crisis. The play raises some very important philosophical questions. There is a very famous dialogue in the play. What right have we human beings to happiness? Elsewhere, Ibsen writes, it is the very hallmark of spirit of rebellion to crave for happiness in this life. Like later absurdist playwrights, Ibsen is also debating whether happiness in human life is a possibility or not. The play is about the ghosts of past. Ibsen rightly says, it is not only what we have inherited from our father and mother that walks in us. It is all sorts of dead ideas, lifeless old beliefs, and so forth. They have no vitality, but they cling to us all the same, and we cannot get rid of them. Ibsen is using his theatre to reform society. He is troubled by the old ideas which are making human life more difficult. Ibsen wants annihilation of these dead, decayed ideas from human society. And unless it happens, human beings can never be free and happy. Ghosts shocked audience with its candid, authentic and realist portrayal of taboo topics, challenging Victorian ideals of morality. It remains a landmark in theatre, exemplifying Ibsen's ability to weave social critique with deeply human conflicts. Naturalist theatre too was a contemporary theatrical movement. It was influenced by evolutionary theory of Charles Darwin, and Emile Zola happens to be one of its most powerful exponents. Like realism, it also tried to represent life on the stage authentically as it is. But it also explored the impact of heredity and environment on human behavior. In naturalist writings, characters' actions and fates are determined by their genetics and environment. It often portrays individuals as powerless against forces beyond their control. Like realism, in these writings, life is depicted as it is without romanticizing or moralizing. Thus, realism emphasizes accurate depiction of life and the moral and psychological depth of characters. Naturalism takes it a step further by emphasizing determinism and portraying life's harshness without filter or ornamentation. There are some differences between realist and naturalist theatre. You can see these differences on the slide. While realist theatre focused on everyday life and tried to represent it as it is, naturalist theatre was more rooted into scientific, biological and genetic determinism of human existence. Both realist and naturalist movements emerged in late 19th century. Both focused on social issues, moral dilemmas. However, naturalist theatre differed from realistic theatre in the sense that its focus was more on heredity and environment and the role these two play in the construction of a man. While realist playwrights wanted to bring social change through their writings, naturalists were aware that art cannot bring about a great change, and therefore they tried to represent life objectively. As already indicated, avant-garde drama, which we are going to discuss today, was both a continuation and critique of realism and naturalism. We'll begin with one of the most experimental avant-garde dramatic form, that is Dadaist theatre. Dadaism was an anti-art literary movement which began during World War I in Zurich, Switzerland. It rejected traditional conventions of beauty, meaning, sense, logic, coherence, and so on. Dada was a radical avant-garde movement that rejected conventional aesthetics, logic, and societal norms in response to the chaos and absurdity of World War I. They sought to challenge traditional theatrical forms, questioning the role of art and provoking audiences through absurd, irrational, and disruptive performance. Tristan Tzara, one of the most famous exponent of Dadaist writing, argued, every product of disgust capable of becoming a negation of family is Dada, a protest with the fists of its whole being engaged in destructive action, Dada. Knowledge of all the means rejected up until now by the shame-faced sex of comfortable compromise and good manners, Dada. Abolition of logic, which is the dance of those impotent to create, Dada. Abolition of memory, Dada. Abolition of the future, Dada. Absolute and unquestionable faith in every God, that is the immediate product of spontaneity. So, Dadaism was anti-art, it was anti-meaning, it was anti-God, it was anti-society, it was anti-norm, it was anti-culture, it was anti-everything. In other words, Dadaism was an anti-art aesthetic. Because it was anti-art aesthetic, it remains a precursor to absurdist movement in theatre. However, we must understand that despite being absurdist and anti-art, it remains political. It staunchly critiques social and moral decay of mankind. We'll discuss one short play by Tzara titled The Gas Heart to understand what Dadaism is all about. The Gas Heart stages the story of 6 characters named after human body parts: ear, mouth, nose, eyebrow, neck. These characters engage in illogical, nonsensical, fragmented dialogues. There is no coherent plot. There is no purpose to this play. Let us discuss one conversation from the play to understand what this play is about. Mouth says, "The conversation lagging, isn't it?" Eye says, "Yes, isn't it? Very lagging, isn't it? Yes, isn't it? Naturally, isn't it? Obviously, isn't it? Lagging, isn't it? Yes, isn't it? Obviously, isn't it? Yes, isn't it? Very lagging, isn't it? Yes, isn't it? Naturally, isn't it? Obviously, isn't it? Lagging, isn't it?" Now, this is a conversation between mouth and eye. There is nothing more than isn't it. Now, what does it mean? What is its symbolical meaning? It symbolizes that art has no purpose. Art cannot bring out any social change. It symbolizes absurdity and meaninglessness. It emphasizes chaos, defiance of logic, and spontaneity. While Dadaism was short-lived, its impact was profound. Subsequently, it influenced several artistic movements, including Surrealism, Expressionism, and conceptual art. It paved the way for experimental forms in art, literature, and performance, and remains one of the most anti-art theatrical experiments. Surrealist theatre was another major avant-garde theatre. Surrealism too was a reaction to the traumas of World War I. It was deeply influenced by the psychoanalytical philosophy of Sigmund Freud and other psychoanalysts. It delved deeper into dreams, desires, and fantasies of human beings which are often repressed. It tried to explore the unconscious and subconscious mind of man. It originated in Paris with André Breton's Surrealist Manifesto serving as a foundational text. Breton defined Surrealism as psychic automatism in its pure state. Breton wanted to liberate the mind through the exploration of dreams, subconscious thoughts, and automatic procedures. In Surrealist theatre, dream and reality intermingle in such a manner that the boundary between the two is often blurred. In fact, surrealist writings or theatre was about this melange of contradictory aspects of life. Breton has argued, and I quote, I believe in the future resolution of these two states, dream and reality, which are seemingly so contradict. He further says, everything tends to make us believe that there exists a certain point of the mind at which life and death, the real and the imagined, past and future, the communicable and incommunicable, high and low, cease to be perceived as contradictions. Surrealist theatre was part of this broader movement of surrealism. It was characterized by rejection of realism and logic. It often preferred dreamlike, illogical representations. In fact, surrealist theatre contested traditional theatrical norms to explore the unconscious and subconscious human mind. Plots are fragmented, non-linear. Events unfold as in a dream, blending reality and fantasy. Repressed desire, fears, and subconscious experiences of the characters are revealed to the audience. Objects, characters, and settings often carry deeper symbolic meanings. So, we can deduce that surrealist theatre or drama emphasized more on dream-like representation of reality. It probed deeper into unconscious or subconscious human mind. It blended the real and unreal in such a manner that the two could not be separated. And of course, the purpose of all this was to provoke the imagination of the audience. This movement was going to influence absurdist theatre in many ways. Another major European avant-garde theatre was epic theatre. It was developed by a German playwright, Bertolt Brecht, known for his plays like The Mother Courage. Bertolt Brecht was a Marxist. Therefore, he wanted drama to bring out a social change and revolution in the society. One of the most important aspects of Brechtian epic theatre was alienation effect, known as Verfremdungs effect in German. Unlike traditional theatre, which wanted immersion of the audience into the performance so that the catharsis takes place, epic theatre wanted the audience to remain at a critical distance so that the audience could critically, creatively and provocatively think about what is happening on the stage and thereby benefit from the performance. So, unlike traditional theatre, epic theatre is a theatre of disidentification. It is a theatre of distancing where the spectator remains aloof from the performance. He tries to distance himself from the stage. In epic theatre, audience are not forced to believe into what is happening. They do not immerse into performance. They remain critical, distant observers. Most of these plays have narrative and episodic structures. A very important idea in epic theatre is gestus. Gestus refers to a physical gesture, attitude or movement that expresses social relationships, political ideologies or personal characteristics. Key features of gestus include symbolic gesture, social commentary, expression of ideology, performance technique. Gestus is a symbolic gesture. Therefore, it encapsulates a broader social political message. It reveals a character's inner attitude or inner mind. But gestures is not only about physical movement of the actor on the stage. It reflects social moralities, class issues, moral and ethical norms which are integral to the performance of life on the stage. In fact, Brecht used gestures to reflect ideological positioning of his characters on the stage. For example, in the play The Mother Courage is constant traveling with her cart of goods, even in the face of war, demonstrates her capitalist survival instinct and lack of perhaps empathy for other. Justice here shows her as a symbol of capitalist greed. The purpose of justice was to stimulate critical intellectual engagement of the audience with the performance. Epic theatre often used songs and music to disrupt the identification of the spectator from the performer. They would also use placards and projections so that the attention of the audience shifts from what the actor is doing on the stage to what is written on the placards. Many a times, actors on the stage would directly address the audience, and thereby they would break the illusion of the performance, creating alienation effect. Non-linear time is another very important feature of epic theatre. So, epic theatre was an avant-garde theatre. It was an experimental theatre, and it differed greatly from traditional theatre. These are some of the major differences between epic theatre and traditional theatre available on your screen. While traditional theatre encouraged emotional identification and catharsis, epic theatre wanted some kind of distancing from the performance. It promoted intellectual engagement and critique of the performance. Most of the traditional theatre had a linear narrative and promoted what one can call immersive realism. Unlike traditional theatre, epic theatre had episodic structure. While traditional theatre focused more on individual stories, epic theatre explored societal and political issues. Epic theatre has a great legacy. It was to inspire many postmodern forms of theatrical experiments, including the theatre of the oppressed. We'll discuss more about some more avant-garde theatrical forms in our next class. Thank you very much.